I was over on the coast at the new Three Jewels Vihara. Metika, our dear friend and one of the members of the community of Abhayagiri lay ministers, passed away a year or so ago, and bequeathed her place, her house, and the Dhamma hall that she built, straw bale Dhamma hall, to the Sangha. That was always her wish, even when she was constructing it many, many years ago. She said, "I hope this goes to the Sangha one day." It was strange to be over there on the coast without Metika around, also in her former place. And what was also noticeable was that all of the people that I had known from who had come along to the Monday night Sangha, the Monday night Dhamma gathering, they were all new faces, except for somebody that Maggie, who was part of the Yoga Mendocino group here was in Ukiah. So it was quite striking, all new faces in the room, and the place transformed into a vihara. And the reflections on anicca, developing the perception of impermanence, one of the key pieces of that is that phrase in the 5 subjects for frequent recollection: all that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will become otherwise, will become separated from me. And I feel that the Buddha used that phraseology very, very specifically, very carefully, that we do have that sense of cherishing. We like the things that we like, that are familiar, that are ours. And if we follow our worldly habits, those things belong to us. They're our place, or our things, or our way of operating. And all that is mine, really, in quote marks, all that appears to be mine, beloved and pleasing, will become otherwise, because it's not really ours. That mineness is a superficial appearance, and that the Buddha encourages us to reflect upon that, to appreciate that sense of cherishing and relishing. This is mine, this belongs to me, this is right. To acknowledge that sense of relishing and cherishing what we feel to be ours, and then through recognizing that attitude, then to let the heart expand beyond that, to recognize, well, it's not really ours, it doesn't really belong, it never really had an owner. That the life is a flow of changing patterns in the field of experience. That's all that can truly be said. None of it is owned, and there isn't any person to own it. So along with, when we think of all that is mine, beloved and pleasing, they might go to material objects, like my scarf, or my robes, or my monastery, my friends, in terms of material things. But I feel it's also an extremely helpful reflection with the way that the mind relates to its opinions, its memories. Just earlier today, being told how someone has got a painful memory from more than 30 years ago. They're still relishing that painful memory, like still carrying a grudge, that patika, that resentment, still carrying around. So I do feel it's helpful to apply this reflection to our memories, our opinions, our attitudes, that we might have ideas or opinions, memories that are beloved and pleasing. We love to carry that grudge around, our pet peeve. We enjoy carrying that grudge around. We know that this is true, this is correct in terms of an opinion, and we can be quite at ease with material objects and say, oh yeah, of course, scarves and clothes and buildings, they're impermanent. But our own internal world we can relate to very differently. No, this is right. I am right. And it did happen this way. I remember, I was there. It was this way. And the mind can create this a false certainty, a false fixity on opinions, on memories, on attitudes. And that if we use this reflection on all that is mine, beloved and pleasing, and that my opinions are beloved and pleasing, my memories are beloved and pleasing, my grudges are beloved and pleasing. Carrying around your he done me wrong and I'm not going to forget it, so there. But to reflect upon those and to see that those too are in a state of change, that they the mind that gives enough space to let those change, to let yourself be wrong, to let yourself have your memory corrected, to say to be able to get a perspective on your attitudes and say, well, I was cherishing that, I was holding on to that, but it turns out I didn't have my facts right. It turns out that was it's really pointless to hang on to this negative attitude, this grudge. It's really painful, it's burdensome for me to carry it around all these years later. So that when we are able to notice that cherishing, that relishing, that attachment to opinions, to memories, to views, to attitudes, then the heart can let them change. You can admit that you were wrong, or that you didn't remember correctly, or that your mind was reacting in a very childish way. And then we find that life is a lot more spacious, to be able to see beyond that particular opinion, that memory, that idea, that attitude, and to see that when you let go of something that you thought was precious, you thought was yours, you are not diminished. You're not made any the less by letting go of an opinion. We're not made any... The Dhamma is not reduced by me finding out that I was wrong. But, there's a line from a Rumi poem where he says, when were you ever made any the less by dying? Well, that refers to psychological death as well as physical death. And you find out that you're wrong, that you didn't do a good job when you remembered things incorrectly, when you were acting in a childish way, that our ego feels wounded or diminished because of that kind of acknowledgement. But when things are seen with the eye of Dhamma, then instead there's a recognition of, oh, it was just that, it's just a memory, it's just an opinion, it's just a thought, just an attitude. How could it be anything perfect? How could it be anything absolute? And we find a great spaciousness in the heart and an ability to adapt. You're not made any the less by having been wrong, or having some project of yours failing, or not pleasing everybody all of the time. That the Dhamma is not reduced or diminished by these changes in the perceptual world. And when we change the attitude, change the view, and follow that kind of patterns of reflection that the Buddha encourages in those 5 subjects for frequent recollection, the result of that acknowledgement, it's a sting to the ego, like all that is mine, beloved and pleasing will become otherwise. No! Can we negotiate? Not yet. But when those habits of self-view are let go of, and the heart opens to that, and following the Buddha's encouragement, then there's a great spaciousness, an easefulness, a great peace on the other side. So I offer these thoughts for consideration today.